Okay, so today we're going to dive into healthcare data management.
Okay.
And I think everyone knows, like, healthcare data, we're creating more of it than ever before, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's this mountain of
But
information.
it's not just the volume though. It's
Yeah.
it's it's getting more diverse and more complex.
Yeah.
You've got electronic health records, imaging, you've got genomic data,
Oh, yeah.
and the list goes on, and all of this needs to be managed and protected.
Oh, yeah, especially with ransomware.
Oh, absolutely. Ransomware is a huge threat to healthcare providers.
It's a huge threat.
The stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah. Because this information is vital for patient care, obviously, right?
Right.
But also for research and for the entire healthcare ecosystem.
Yeah, it's really the foundation of everything.
It really is.
And when it's compromised, the impact is just massive.
Yeah. So what are you seeing out there? Like, how are healthcare providers approaching this problem of data security?
Right.
Because, it used to be just like, okay, back it up, you're good.
Right.
But now I feel like it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not just about backing things up anymore. You need to have multiple layers of defense in place.
Right.
You need to ensure that data is immutable,
Okay.
and you need to have a plan in place to recover quickly if a ransomware attack does happen.
Yeah, so let's dive into that because
Yeah.
today's deep dive is all about a healthcare provider
Yeah.
who was facing all of these challenges, right? They were
Mhm.
trying to upgrade their aging systems,
Hmm.
keep security top of mind,
Right.
but they also had a tight budget, like everyone.
Yeah, that's a familiar story for a lot of organizations, not just in healthcare, I think.
Oh, I think so. I think a lot of our listeners can probably relate to that struggle
Absolutely.
to balance, needing the best tech, but
Mm.
also,
Yeah, having to make tough choices.
Yeah.
With limited resources.
So this healthcare provider, they already used Veeam software
Okay.
for backups, and they loved it.
Great software.
Yeah, but finding a storage solution
Right.
that was compatible with Veeam,
Uh-huh.
that was also secure and affordable,
Yeah.
was like pulling teeth.
I bet.
They looked at some of the big players
Yeah.
like HPE and Dell,
Hmm.
but what happened?
Well, you run into that classic vendor lock-in issue. Right.
Exactly.
A lot of these big companies, they want you to stay within their ecosystem, which
Mhm.
can limit your flexibility
For sure.
and really drive up the cost.
And they didn't want to.
No.
They didn't want any part of that.
Makes sense.
They needed a solution that fit their needs,
Right.
not the vendor's agenda.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And one of their team members actually told us, and I'm quoting here, we felt stuck. The big names wanted us to rip and replace our whole setup, which was way too expensive and disruptive.
Yeah, I can see why they would be frustrated.
So they started looking for alternatives, and they stumbled across a company called Stonefly.
Okay, Stonefly. Now, they may not be as well known as some of the giants.
Right.
But they've actually been in the data storage game for a long time, since the early days of ISCSI.
Yeah, it's like they've seen it all.
They've seen it all. They
Whoa.
know their stuff.
You know their stuff. So Stonefly came to the rescue with a solution called the DR365V. Now this is a purpose-built appliance designed specifically for Veeam backups.
So they didn't have to abandon Veeam, which is what they really liked. They
Exactly.
could just enhance what they already had in place.
Yeah, so this DR365V appliance,
Okay.
it's Veeam ready,
Okay.
which means it's been tested, it's been validated to work perfectly with Veeam software. I mean, right there, that probably just took a huge load off their minds, right?
Oh, absolutely. No more compatibility nightmares,
Right.
which can be a huge headache.
Yeah, but what really impressed them was the focus on ransomware protection.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The DR365V uses what we call a multi-layered approach to security, including both air-gapped and immutable backups.
Okay, now I got to ask, because these are terms that get thrown around a lot, but I think it's always good to break it down for our listeners.
Sure.
So air-gapped backups. In simple terms, it's basically like having your data on a separate island.
Right. That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Disconnected, completely disconnected from your main network.
It's not connected to the network.
So hackers can't touch it.
Right. They can't get to it.
Right.
Because it's not connected.
Oh, cool.
It's like keeping your most valuable possessions in a safe deposit box at a bank.
Oh, okay. I like that analogy.
It's physically separated,
Okay.
and it's highly secure.
Yeah.
It's the same concept.
Okay, so that's air-gapped, and then there's this immutable backup, right?
Right.
which is a whole other layer of protection, right?
It is. This means that the data can't be altered or deleted,
Oh, wow.
even by someone who should have access
Right.
for a specific period of time.
So it's like a time lock on your data.
Exactly.
Right.
Even if a hacker got past all your other security measures, they couldn't encrypt or delete those immutable backups.
Wow.
It's incredibly powerful for protection against ransomware.
Wow. So you've got these two layers, right?
Yeah,
Air-gapped, immutable, working together.
it's a powerful combination.
Like that's got to be pretty reassuring, right?
It is.
But then there's this other thing that I think is really cool,
Okay.
which is this idea of tiered storage.
Right.
So explain that to me.
Okay, so tiered storage basically means that you're using different types of storage
Okay.
for different types of data.
Okay.
So, for example, the DR365V uses something called NVMe drives.
Ooh, NVMe. I've heard of those.
Those are the Ferraris of storage. They are blazing fast.
Right.
They're really expensive, but they're super fast.
Okay.
So you use those for data that needs to be accessed very quickly.
Okay. So that's like your active data.
Exactly, your most frequently accessed data.
Well.
Then they have SSDs, which are still very fast,
Okay.
but they're more cost effective.
Okay.
And then for long-term archival, they can integrate with cloud storage like Azure or AWS.
So it's like having a custom-built data center, but it's all in one box.
Exactly.
Wow.
So you can have the speed and the performance where you need it
Okay.
without, spending a fortune on storage that doesn't require that level of performance.
Yeah, and this is perfect for this healthcare provider, right? Because remember, budget was a big concern for them.
Absolutely. And Stonefly offered them what they call best per terabyte per machine pricing,
Okay.
which made it much more affordable than some of the other solutions they were looking at.
So it's like they got the security, the flexibility, the scalability all within their budget.
They did. It's a pretty compelling solution.
It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. But, I think before we go into, the results of all of this and how this actually worked out for them,
Oh.
I want to take a step back for a second and just ask you, with all the different approaches to data security out there,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the key things that organizations should be thinking about when they're making these kinds of decisions?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to really understand your data landscape.
Okay.
What kind of data are you generating? How sensitive is it?
Okay.
How quickly do you need to be able to access it?
Yeah.
And how long do you need to keep it?
Right.
Once you have a good understanding of that, then you can start to evaluate different solutions and see what makes sense for your organization.
And it's not just about the tech itself, right?
Yeah.
There's also the human element.
The human element is huge.
Right. Like training staff on security protocols.
Absolutely.
Having clear policies in place.
You need to have a culture of security awareness.
Yeah.
Because the best security technology in the world isn't going to be effective if your staff isn't properly trained or if they're not following best practices.
Right. It's like having a high-tech security system on your house, but leaving the door unlocked.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
It defeats the purpose.
Yeah. Okay. So understanding your data, training your staff, having those policies in place, what else should organizations be thinking about?
Well, I think it's also important to think about the future.
Okay.
Your data needs are going to change over time.
Right.
So you need a solution that can scale and adapt with you.
Okay. So like this healthcare provider, they had this system that was aging, right?
Right.
And they needed to upgrade it.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to just rip and replace everything.
Right.
So they needed something that could kind of grow with them.
Exactly. And that's where a solution like Stonefly's DR365V really shines.
Okay, so let's get into that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how this actually played out.
Yes.
And what the results were.
Let's do it.
For this healthcare provider.
Right.
After they implemented the DR365V.
Great.
So, I mean, I'm hearing a lot about on-premise solutions here, but I'm curious, what about the cloud?
Yeah.
Like, are more and more healthcare providers, are they moving towards cloud-based solutions for their data management?
Yeah, that's a question we get a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And the answer, as always, is it depends.
Yeah.
We're seeing a real mix of approaches out there. Some
Wow.
organizations, they're going all in on the cloud,
Yeah.
attracted by the scalability, the
Yeah.
flexibility that it offers.
Yeah.
Others are sticking with on-premise solutions,
Yeah.
especially if they have, concerns about data security or regulatory compliance.
Right. Right. Yeah. Those are big ones.
Yeah, and then there are, of course, hybrid models as well,
Yeah.
which try to combine best of both worlds.
Yeah. I guess it's all about finding the right fit for
Exactly.
your particular needs and
But
circumstances.
it's not one size fits all.
Right. No.
It's about finding what works best for your organization.
And for this healthcare provider, it sounds like they found that sweet spot with Stonefly's on-premise solution, right?
They did, and the results, I gotta say, speak for themselves.
Okay, let's hear it.
Since implementing the DR365V, they've seen a significant improvement in their data security posture.
Oh, okay.
They've got those air-gapped and immutable backups,
Yeah.
providing that double layer of protection.
Right.
And they feel confident that they can recover quickly if they were ever hit with a ransomware attack.
Which is, I mean, that's got to be huge, right?
It is. That peace of mind is priceless.
Especially in healthcare, where every second counts.
Every second counts. Absolutely.
But it wasn't just about the security improvements.
No.
This tiered storage approach also gave them the flexibility and the scalability they needed to manage, all that data that's growing all the time.
That's right. They're able to keep their frequently accessed data on those super fast NVMe drives
Yeah.
while archiving the less critical data on more cost-effective storage tiers.
Okay.
And because it integrates with cloud storage,
Right.
they know they have options.
Right.
If their data storage needs continue to grow in the future.
So they've got the security, they've got the flexibility, the scalability, but what about the budget?
Right.
Remember that was a big concern for them.
It was. And this is where Stonefly really delivered.
Okay.
By choosing an on-premise solution that was purpose-built for Veeam,
Mm-hmm.
they were able to avoid those costly rip and replace scenarios
Right. Right.
that the big vendors were pushing.
Yeah.
They got the solution that they needed at a price point that worked for them.
So it's like they really kind of hit the jackpot here.
They did. They did. They found a solution that really met their needs.
They really did. And I think, hearing this story, it's a great example of finding the right solution for a specific problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it raises some bigger questions
Okay.
about the future of data management in healthcare.
Sure.
Like with all this data exploding, how do we make sure that it's affordable,
Right.
accessible, but also secure in the long run?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not just a healthcare question.
Right.
Any industry, any field that deals with sensitive information
Yeah.
faces this challenge.
Oh, absolutely. Like financial institutions, research labs, governments. Yeah.
Anyone who has data that they need to protect.
It's like this paradox, right?
It is.
Where we want this data to be available
We do.
for research, for innovation, for patient care,
Right.
but we also need to protect it
We have to.
from these threats.
From cyber threats, from loss, from corruption.
It's a tough balance.
It is, and the stakes are just getting higher.
Right.
As we rely more and more on data,
Yeah.
the more vulnerable we become.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that investing in robust data management solutions,
Yeah.
it's not just a luxury. It's essential.
It's a necessity.
It's a necessity, yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about throwing money at the problem.
No.
It's about choosing solutions that are tailored to specific needs.
Right.
Like this healthcare provider did
They had a plan.
with the Stonefly appliance.
They did. They identified their priorities.
Right.
They knew what was important to them, and they found a solution that addressed those needs.
And sometimes that might mean going with a lesser known company
Right.
like Stonefly.
It's not always about the biggest name.
Right. It's about finding the right fit.
Exactly. The right fit for your organization.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts here? Like what do you want our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
I think the big takeaway is, do your research.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to look at different options.
Challenge the status quo.
Challenge the status quo.
Right.
There are solutions out there
Yeah.
that can meet your needs.
If this healthcare provider could find a solution that exceeded their expectations,
Right.
I think anyone can.
I agree. I
Right.
agree. Don't settle for the status quo.
Yeah.
Dare to dive deep.
Dive deep.
Find the solutions that will empower you to manage your data with confidence and security.
Love it, love it. Well, on that note, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.
Yeah.
It can be a lot, you know.
Thank you.
It can be pretty overwhelming with all the options and the jargon.
Yeah, the jargon.
It's easy to get lost.
Yeah.
But what I'm taking away from this is that it's worth it
It is.
to really do your homework.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
And find the right solution.
Don't just settle for the biggest name
Yeah.
or the flashiest tech.
Right.
It's about finding the right fit.
Yeah, and there's no shame in asking for help.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
There are experts out there,
Yeah.
like Stonefly, who specialize in guiding organizations through this process.
Right.
They can help you assess your needs,
Yeah.
evaluate different options, and ultimately find the solution that's the right fit for you.
Yeah. It's like having a data management Sherpa.
I like that.
All right.
Guiding you through the treacherous mountain passes of tech jargon and vendor pitches.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask questions, do your due diligence, and even get a second opinion if you need it.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's your data. You want to make sure it's protected.
Yeah, and data management it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not.
It's a journey.
It is.
And it's important to have those trusted partners
Right.
along the way
Along the way.
to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape.
The landscape is constantly changing.
Oh, yeah.
So you need someone who can keep you up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We started with, the challenges of managing all this healthcare data,
Yeah.
the threat of ransomware,
Mm-hmm.
the need for robust security solutions.
Right.
And then we looked at this healthcare provider's journey
Their journey.
to finding the right solution.
Finding the right fit for them,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was the Stonefly DR365V appliance.
Yeah, with all the bells and whistles,
The air-gapped backups, the immutable backups,
Yeah.
the tiered storage,
tiered store.
the affordability.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive package.
It is.
And we even touched on some of the broader trends in data management, like the rise of cloud solutions, and how do we find that balance
Yeah.
between security, accessibility, and cost.
That's the key.
Yeah,
Finding that balance.
it's been a real eye opener.
It has.
I hope our listeners, they came away with a newfound appreciation
Mm-hmm.
for just how important proactive data management is.
Absolutely.
It's not just about, ones and zeros.
It's about people.
Yeah,
It's about protecting information that impacts lives,
absolutely.
businesses, entire industries.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. Well, it's been a pleasure
Likewise.
exploring these insights with you,
It's been fun.
and hopefully our listeners are feeling empowered
Yeah.
to take control of their own, data destinies.
Absolutely.
Right.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to data management.
Absolutely. A little bit of effort can go a long way.
It really can. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.